Alright guys, so Fula coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LDBC. I was debating on whether to do this video or not. But I guess I'll go ahead and do this video. I guess this is what this dude is looking for, is people to entertain him. You know how they say that controversy sells, right? Yeah. So in order for him to stay relevant, he'll say some off-the-wall crap that has no logic to it in order to stay relevant. Even if it makes no sense at all. Because the thing is this. If he had real knowledge, if he had knowledge which was beneficial to people, then he would not need to continue to change his doctrine. But that may have to do with the fact that he's a shapeshifter and he's also probably schizophrenia. And we also have to consider the fact that when he was in prison, he was actually in the psych ward section of prison. So we have to consider that factor, that they probably did a lot of experiments on him. They probably inputted, just gave him different serums and probably did a lot of different things on him. We gotta consider these facts. We gotta, take this into account when we're dealing with him. But we also have to take into account that he is possessed by a demon as well. We have to remember that as well. As I made in the last video, my last video said that a sure sign that someone's possessed by a bad spirit is that they're reluctant to bathe. And he doesn't bathe. Many former members of the camp that were there before said they smell like crap and that they smell unsanitary. So with these things being factors, we have to consider these things when we're dealing with him. And one thing I will say is he says that every time we talk about him, it's a reflection of ourselves. He's absolutely right about that, because it's a reflection of ourselves being aware of the foolery. It's a reflection of ourselves being on our toes in regards to the foolery he's preaching, or whatever the case you say. It's a reflection of ourselves actually analyzing and thinking for ourselves too. So I agree with him on that. He wants to say that it's a reflection of us being demons and stuff. Well, that is the farthest thing from the truth. Because last time I checked, I like to wash my butt every day. Last time I checked, I like to use soap, and I like the water to penetrate every part of my body. And even if I were to take a bird bath, that bird bath would consist of washing my butt, and not being musty and not smelling like the stench of death, basically. But anyhow, so at first, he was the Christ consciousness. He was the Messiah. He was sent to do this, that, and the other. Then secondly, he became a Muslim. That was the next thing. He became a Muslim. And now it appears he's became an atheist. This go about. And he's been telling people to refute him or give him proof that God exists. Well, since he has blocked me, and since I know how the conversation will go, it would be him speaking over me. It would be him not standing to be corrected, basically. not standing to learn anything, because according to him, he's the most knowledgeable, he's the smartest being on the earth, you know, according to him. But I already know how it would go, you know. He wouldn't let me talk, you know, so it's no point in wasting time with someone who's obviously just trying to indoctrinate you into his belief. And the thing is, with my videos that I make, the videos that I do make on him, my thing is not to indoctrinate you into what I believe in. To you, your way, to me, my way, you know. That's just how it goes, and that's just the way I see it, you know. As a matter of fact, I don't want you to believe in what I believe in, you know, because of the simple fact that, you know, what I believe in is a lifelong process, you know, in order to actually realize it, in order to arrive at the truth. It's like a lifelong thing. It's a lifelong journey. And so, you know, many people fake the funk and say they've already arrived and that they can help you do this, that, and the other. Kind of similar to Natureboy saying he can cure herpes and this, that, and the other kind of stuff, right? But anyhow, the first, I mean, you can easily refute Natureboy. The first proof that God actually exists is the fact that he's still doing the foolery that he's doing right now. You know, God is showing him a lot of mercy and actually letting him create more bastard kids, and actually letting him do domestic violence, and actually letting him starve people, and actually letting him misappropriate people's hard-earned money, and actually having people send him donations. That's proof enough for me that God exists, you know. That's proof enough right there that, you know, God is still letting this guy do all kinds of foolery, you know. I mean, you can easily refute him. He said, give me proof that God exists. Well, we know that we need oxygen to breathe. We can't see oxygen, but we know it exists, right? We know there's such thing as oxygen, right? We see natural disasters with wind, right? We don't see the wind physically with our eyes, but we know it exists, right? People get sick from different viruses, right? Let's just say pneumonia. Let's just say colds. Let's just say flus. Let's just say fevers, right? We don't see those viruses, right? But we know they exist, right? We don't see AIDS, right? But we know it exists, right? We don't see HIV, but we know it exists, right? That's the second point, basically. The third point is this too. Your mind is not going to be able to conceive the concept of God due to the simple fact of his greatness, due to the simple fact of his omnipotence, as they say, omnipotence. Your mind's not going to be able to conceive it, right? I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. We're pretty limited as human beings, you know. It would take like really mental, a very big mental capacity to like really expound on some of the what they call the sometimes whys of the universe, you know. Now, what I will say is that proof of God's existence also exists in the fact that he gifts people certain things, and he gifts other people different things. For example, there's a 12-year-old in London right now. He's smart enough to go to Oxford. He's going to Oxford University in London at 12 years old. That's just one of the divine gifts that God gave him. But not all 12-year-olds have that, you know, what he has. So the question I have, these are the questions I have for Natureboy. Since he ain't gonna like really respond or anything. Honestly, he doesn't want no smoke. That's just the bottom line. You know, honestly, he doesn't want any. And I'm not about to bug him to unblock me. I don't need to. I'm not gonna lower myself to that. I still have dignity. But the question I have for Natureboy is, so if God is a man-made concept, then where did the concept of man come from? How did man come into existence? Did man just decide one day out of a drop of the hat to say, oh, it's time for me to exist. Let me go ahead. And while I'm at it, I'll create a woman too. Did man just do that by themselves? Did a man just say, oh, okay, well, it's time to exist. Let me just go ahead and do it. Did animals just go ahead and say, okay, I came out of nowhere. Let me just come out. Let me just step into the world. Now, the other question I have for him too is, even with the human body is a machine. Did man just decide that he was just going to create organs for different purposes? Did man just decide he was going to create a heart to pump blood? Did man just decide he was just going to use a brain to think and process things? Did man just decide he was going to basically use limbs and joints for moving and things like that? Waiting for an answer. And I will end with this story, you know, in regards to his kufer. Because, you know, a lot of my African avatars who are sages told me, you know, beware of these times that we're living in, because a lot of false prophets will come, and a lot of people claiming one thing but doing another will come, and a lot of people who say they have certain abilities and certain gifts will come, and those people will be they'll be the first ones to be thrown face first in hell, you know. But he's already in hell. You can tell by his face how it keeps twisting up and stuff like that, and how he's a shapeshifter. He's already in hell. Foot of him is already in hell. Foot of him is outside of it. So I'm gonna leave you with this. This is a story that I was told by a great African sage, you know, and may God have mercy on him. He sat me down one day because I was like, man, I was like, God realization is one thing for sure. Atheism is another thing, man. It's kind of dumb, you know. And it's kind of dumb that people want you to believe in atheism, you know. So what happened was, he sat me down and he's like, let me tell you a story. So I'm going to tell this story. There was a scholar. He was very known, very learned scholar. And there was an atheist. Let's just say the atheist is Natureboy. And then there was Natureboy. Natureboy wanted to debate this scholar who happened to believe in God. So the scholar showed up late to the debate. So Natureboy says, oh, you showed up late to the debate. What kind of person are you? How dare you show up? Man, show some respect. Have some morals. Show up on time. So the scholar said, my apologies, but I was actually en route to being on time. But unfortunately, there was a river and I had to cross that river, and there was no boats for me to cross that river. So what happened is I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for a boat, but no boat showed up. All of a sudden, a tree fell down, and the wood of that tree automatically constructed itself into a canoe. That way I got across the river in that canoe that just happened from the tree falling down and the wood forming into a canoe. So Natureboy said, do you expect me to believe that story? Do you expect me to believe that? How fake is that? Right? So the scholar said, if you believe that the heavens and the earth just came into existence by themselves, as you want others to believe, then you're stupid. You're an idiot, basically. And so the parable of that story, in case you missed it, is if the atheist didn't believe that happened, that the canoe came together by itself, then why in the heck would he believe that the heavens, the seven heavens, the seven earths, the celestial bodies, the stars, the planets, the atoms came together by themselves, or that man created it, or it was in man's imagination? That's the moral of the story. This is Fula signing out. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments and think for yourself. Njarama.